Gloria Sons, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
So you're going to do Everything Is All Right?
Yeah.
What can you tell me about it? What can you tell people about it before they hear it?
Well, it was one of the songs that kind of unlocked the I guess you could call it sound for the album. It was on my voice notes in my phone just as this kind of acoustic folk kind of thought for a long time, and I'd shown it to people, and we didn't really know what to do with these songs because they were pretty folky, and
They're great songs, but no one could really see the value in them as Gloria Sons songs. We had a very difficult time transferring those very folky kind of voice notes into rock and roll songs.
it was like a 3-year period in my life where I literally would wake up at like noon or 1 or say, boil a pot of coffee, drink like 6 cups of coffee, sit on my deck, and just write music all day, and then go out to the bar, come home, eat a Subway sandwich, and repeat everything.
So this is the song that came out of that.
Yeah, and there was a lot of those songs came out of that period in my life.
Brett, I want to ask you about a line in that song. I punched a man on his wedding night.
Yeah,
True story?
yeah.
Why did you do that?
It's tough to say.
I want to point out that Jay's not laughing as hard as the rest of us at this moment.
It was
there.
his
Yeah,
good
it was my
friend.
buddy, actually.
As long as it wasn't your wedding night.
No,
okay.
that
It
could happen
was,
though someday
right,
down
right.
the road.
No, it's not
could
going to
see it
happen. I'm going to make sure of it.
What happened? You don't have to get into the gory details if you want.
Well, side story, I just saw the guy actually at the bar 3 weeks ago for the Bills Jaguars game, and he jokes about it now. He looked at me and said, "Brett, when am I getting royalties for that song?" So I'm very thankful to Curtis for being such a good sport.
Yeah.
But I went to this thing. I wasn't invited to the wedding, which is even worse. I was invited to like
Crashing the reception.
the reception afterward, and I'm dancing up a storm. And I had like $20, and I just gotten back from university, and I, flunked out everything. I just quit school and didn't really know what the heck I was going to do with my life. And I had $20, and I was like, I'm going to get as drunk as possible off this $20. So I put it all toward tequila shots.
Oh, my Lord.
And I was going home on the bus afterward, and I don't know, I just thought that everybody was supposed to be smoking on the bus.
It was like a shuttle bus between the wedding and like back to Kingston because we were just outside of town a bit.
Yeah.
So you got grandmas on the bus, like
Shut up.
other people who aren't nearly as inebriated.
Where are
as-
you at this point?
I'm on the bus.
Right.
Yeah.
Inebriated.
Yeah.
Like
No, yeah.
everybody was
Everyone was-
feeling good.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and if you were to put me in that situation with all those guys smoking on the bus without the aunts and the cousins and the grandmas, and
Yeah.
It might have been a different story.
It would have been a
Yeah.
totally
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
story. But somebody said something to me, and then I said something to them, and I had, the world was kind of closing in on me. So I walked up to the front of the bus and asked the driver just to drop me off because I was about 2 kilometers away from my parents' house in Odessa, which is, midway between Amherst and Bath, where the wedding was. And he said no. And then me and Curtis have always had a little bit of a tiny rivalry anyways, and he came up and he said, "Brett, why do you gotta ruin everything?"
Oh, man.
And
What a magic line for a problem, hey?
and I looked at him, and the next thing I know is his head going back and him going, "Ah!" And then I was under
There's like 4 or 5 guys.
5 guys just
mean,
piled on top
my
of me.
other
One of
brother
them
just
had their
peeling
finger
guys
in my
off
mouth.
Brett.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
It was stupid. It was absolutely stupid.
But you got a song out of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Jay, is this like hearing your brother's diary? Is it odd to hear really deeply personal songs?
no.
Because sometimes siblings don't talk that way.
Brett and I have always been pretty much like widely open with each other.
Yeah.
And even like for someone who's not that close to Brett, he's a fairly open book. If you were to meet him, he'd sit down and basically you'll know everything about him that you would want to know.
Yeah.
Just by asking him. So it's not really that strange.
I don't really hold much in.
Yeah.
But is that challenging for you? It's one thing to sit down with me and have a beer and tell me a couple of stories about your life. It's another thing to stand up in front of a couple of thousand people and tell those stories.
No, because the reason I started writing in the first place was kind of just to put those things out, to put them on paper, to kind of you know, it's like a kind of like a therapy session for me. You know, you like the songs are all written through hangovers, so it was like get these thoughts out of my mind and onto something and out in the open so that I can kind of like, you know, just make sense of them. And I just always been that way. Everybody, if I'm in a room and there's a conversation going on, and I'm pretty good at being open with people and just being honest about who I am. That's always been the way I am.
I mean, it's the secret to good songwriting. Your first record, The Union, was a big record when it came out in 2014, and got nominated for a Juno for Rock Album of the Year.
Yeah.
Jay, did you feel any pressure making this new one? Did you feel that lingering in the shadows a little bit?
Not really. We knew we wanted to do something different than the Union. That was kind of the main pressure, was finding the sound, trying to go somewhere without like leaving our roots behind, and yet trying to go somewhere original that's going to take us to a next level.
We knew we didn't want to make the same
Yeah.
album twice.
Yeah. Right.
That was the main thing, because we'd done that, and we'd expressed all that we could that way once, and we wanted to grow. We wanted to try out some new production.
Did it feel like a risk at all?
It felt like a risk at some points. Yeah,
It just took so long that
yeah.
if it would have taken like when we went to LA the first time, which was about January last year, we were there. We were scheduled to be there for 5 days and to meet the producers and hopefully write some music. And that felt like if this doesn't go right this week, we're going to be in a pretty bad spot as far as the direction.
We'd
of
already been
our
in
album.
the studio
Yeah.
twice.
So
We'd
it was,
already
it was
been
kind
in.
of do or die at that point, and we were kind of pushing all of our chips in on this one trip to LA with these guys we had no idea
It was a blind
anything
date.
about, and ended up working out, thank God. But
What was the moment you knew that it was going to be okay?
It's Josie.
Josie, yeah.
Josie was the first song that we like. We were going through all these songs, and there was like 50 of them that the label and management had sent over that they thought were like the strongest ones, and we were going through them, and nothing was really like sparking. At least for me, I was thinking to myself, like, these are all kind of played out in my mind, and I was like, hey, Fred, can I show you guys something? And I went on my voice notes, and I showed them Josie, and they just started looking at each other, and one thing led to another, and we had a song in 2 hours, and everybody was excited about it.
Yeah.
Like, more excited about it than than we'd seen in a very long time.
You started feeling this weight, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it was like kind of like a release. It was more of like a lifting a weight.
How many times have you guys asked about what it's like to be in a band with your brothers?
A lot
I guess,
lately.
yeah.
A lot lately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's a fairly common question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The question I want to ask that's like that is, at what point, or is there a point when you guys talk about either music or the business side of music, or making records, or creative decisions, or financial decisions, or logistical decisions, that you kind of need to cease to be brothers for a couple of minutes? You need to talk like business partners. Is there a difference?
I think that we're still learning that.
Yeah, it's kind of a fine line.
It kind of depends on the environment that you're speaking about it. A lot of stuff I'll leave to actually Adam and Jay. Adam's our drummer, who's not here today. But him and Jay, I know, take care of a certain side of the business. And really, I can ask questions, but my input on those kind of things really is meaningless because I don't pay any attention to it.
Right.
I have faith in them to be able to carry out decisions that I feel are responsible and good for our well-being as a band. And then there's the other side where, Packer, I would say, bows out, and me and Jay usually speak about it. But
Yeah.
Jay's kind of in the mix on everything, and I'm getting better at learning when to speak up, where my place is, and when to just kind of just be faithful that your brother's got you.
And is it that, Jay, for you? Is it like,
Yeah.
it's always my brother here? It's never my bandmate. It's never my business partner.
No, it's kind of tough to separate that. I think it's more important to maybe pick your times when you're going to talk about the business, and that's hard to shut off sometimes. Like if we're together, Glorious Sons is always,
Yeah, like a family dinner. Are you guys always talking about the band?
We could be, because then maybe my dad will ask us about something, and then all of a sudden,
we've learned to just be like, nah,
Yeah,
not tonight.
like, no business. No business at the dinner table.
You got to
know,
do
or,
that
like,
sometimes
yeah.
because I don't live. Sorry, I live in Toronto, but I'm from St. John's
Yeah.
in Newfoundland, and I guess played there.
No, we haven't.
We actually have,
It's
yeah.
I
great.
think we're going out there this summer.
When I go in, I think my family's kind of excited because I get to talk to some really amazing people, and sometimes I got to be a little bit like, hey guys, can I just
Not
be,
now.
Yeah.
can I just be me and watch some home gardening show for a half hour? Can I
Yeah.
watch someone flip a house for a half hour?
Well, it's a lot. Once you're doing what we are doing, like whatever it is, once you're doing what you're doing in general, it's a lot less exciting to you because you do it every day of your life than it is to the people around you, no matter what you're doing.
I say this quote a lot. My buddy Larry Foley says it from Newfoundland. He says, "What people don't know about music is that the coolest thing about going on tour is saying you're on tour."
It's true.
I want to talk to you about Kingston just for a second. I got a lot of affection for Kingston, and I think quite obviously Canadian music fans have a lot of affection for Kingston, given that the hip come from Kingston, given that a lot of great bands have come from Kingston. I know you've had really, really good times there. I've also known it can be a certain place of darkness for you guys as well. So, Brett, I'll start with you. What does Kingston mean to you?
Well, Kingston's kind of just, been where everything that's good that's happened to me in the past 6-7 years is Kingston has been that place. It's been my home, and it kind of reminds me of like a ski village without the hill. It's very like a lot of locals. You see a lot of the same faces, and it's right on the water. It's a beautiful town. I love Kingston, and when you say that there's a place of darkness, I feel like that would be really anywhere that I step foot in.
Sure.
I kind of believe people move away from cities to blame the city for their problems.
Right.
Not to say that I'll be in Kingston the rest of my life, but
You guys are still there, both of you?
yeah. But it's been the place that I've grown. I got back there at 19 years old, and I can't really say I grew much in Halifax. And Odessa's got 600 people in it, and most of the time I was just, walking to my buddy's house and doing nothing. So Kingston has been that place for me. Whether you're from, I don't know, this is probably wrong, but Guelph, and you moved to Toronto. I'm from Odessa, and I moved to Kingston. And Kingston is my metropolis.
It feels like the big city.
Yeah, it was a place it was a place of excitement that really just, ignited something in me.
So does that feel like a hometown show when you play there now?
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
But that's not always a good thing, is it?
It's an interesting thing
It's
because
not
like
always a good thing.
everyone that you've ever met almost might be at that show, So like you have a connection to almost everyone in the audience, maybe,
Yeah.
Like, that's exaggeration, but
It's
there's
true.
probably like 1,000 or 2,000 people that you've come across in your life that are going to be there. So, and that's fairly like uncommon for a show. There's maybe, we go to Calgary, like 20 people there, 30 people, and that's pretty easily to manage. But in Kingston, trying to manage, what we're going to do with ourselves is like, as far as interacting with the fans and like managing like
Our time.
what you're going to do before the show and after.
Your
It's like-
guest list,
Yeah.
guest
which
list.
is impossible
Yeah.
in a hometown show.
Well, we said before the show, like, you know what? This time, if none of our friends get tickets, we're not getting them guest lists.
Right.
We've given them enough chances, right?
I don't believe you.
So yeah,
I don't believe it worked.
exactly.
I don't believe it worked. It didn't work.
Exactly. So it doesn't. So people start texting me like I didn't get tickets. It sold out in like an hour or something. So I
Yeah.
kind of understand, but I'm not just gonna not have my friends come to
Yeah.
the biggest show I've ever played in my hometown.
But it's kind of annoying when you tour and people buy tickets so much in advance and you get really excited about it, and it's your hometown show and it's your best buddies.
Yeah.
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 Who are
Some of them just are like, oh, dude, I just figured I was going to be on your guest list. Or like, it's like, I better be on your guest list, eh? You know all the stuff I've done for you.
Guys, it's so great to have you in. Brett, you quit school how long ago? Like 5 years ago?
What am I? 6 years ago now.
So where were you?
Dalhousie.
Dalhousie.
Yeah.
If you could talk to that guy who was quitting school at the time, what would you say?
Do it, man.
Yeah?
Quit. Yeah. Yeah. Like I don't know. It's probably the best decision I ever made because I went to school for literature, and I wasn't going to become a teacher. I love to read and I love to write, but I love to write creatively. I don't really love to write essays and nonfiction stuff. I went to school because I thought I had to, and I went to Halifax because it was almost the furthest place away that I could be.
Yeah, man. You could have gone one province over, and you would have been pretty far away. Yeah.
Or the other way.
Yeah. Right.
But I quit to be a musician, and I still remember the conversation with my parents, and I said I'm gonna be a musician because I'd started playing music 5 or 6 years before that, and I took over everything in my life, and I think that it seems to have worked out. I'm definitely happy that I did that. There's no regrets about me quitting school. I made some great friends. I love that city, Halifax, but I'm a lot happier now than I was there.
Jay, you must remember that moment, like a kind
Yeah.
of stressful moment when the call came.
Yeah, it wasn't stressful. I was like, all right, yeah, get your ass back here.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
You guys are going to play Josie. Who's going to tell me who Josie is?
Brett.
Josie is a
Real person?
yeah. The name's not real. I changed the name, but it's a girl from our hometown. And
Her real name is Curtis, and you were at his wedding.
It's Kurt, actually. But yeah, it's loosely based off of her, and she's it's what I imagine her life to be like, a lot of it. But she's a fantastic girl that's always been kind to me, that works in one of the bars in Kingston.
Does she know the songs about her?
No,
You want to tell her right now? You can.
no,
All right.
thanks.
All right. Well, if you're listening to this right now in the podcast in the bar in Kingston, listen to something else, and then after you've listened to Riverboat Fantasy 3 times, this Joseph, if you're listening to this and you think this might be about you, and you're in a bar in Kingston right now, it probably is. Thanks for coming in, guys.
Nice.
Thanks for having
us.
us.
A lot of fun. Yeah.